Ladies, let's get real for a second. You've been taught to believe that men are these simple creatures. Give them food, sex, and a little praise, and they'll be happy. But let me tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. Men are not as simple as they seem. There's a hidden psychology behind every move they make, every word they say or don't say. And the moment a woman understands how a man truly operates, the game changes forever. His motivation, his true nature doesn't matter if that nature does not match their behavior. See, men don't hate women figuring out what's on the surface. They hate when women figure out what's underneath. That's where the real power lies. The power of female influence. From the dawn of time, women have had the ability to shape men, to bring out their best or their worst. But here's the problem. Most women either don't realize this power or they misuse it. When you understand that your energy, your words, and your presence can push a man to greatness or pull him into mediocrity, you start to play the game differently. Men's deepest fear, emotional vulnerability. Ladies, men have been conditioned from birth to be strong, to be providers, to never show weakness. So when you figure out that their biggest fear isn't failure, but emotional exposure, you have leverage, not to manipulate, but to connect on a level most women never reach. When a woman can create a space where a man feels safe enough to be vulnerable, without judgment, he will move mountains for her. The silent competition in relationships. Every relationship has an unspoken power dynamic. And here's where most women go wrong. They try to dominate in the same way men do. But that's not how you win. When you understand that power isn't about control, it's about influence, you stop fighting and start leading effortlessly. Men thrive on respect, not just love. Women often express love through affection, care, and deep conversations. But men, they thrive on respect. You can love a man with all your heart, but if he doesn't feel respected, he'll pull away. When a woman understands that respect is a man's love language, she can create a relationship where he naturally steps up to be the best version of himself. Mastering feminine energy. There's a massive misunderstanding about femininity today. Some women think it means being weak, submissive, or passive. But real feminine energy, it's powerful, it's magnetic. A woman who embraces her feminine essence doesn't need to chase, demand, or force anything because she naturally attracts everything she desires. Men don't know how to resist a woman who knows her worth, radiates confidence, and understands the balance between softness and strength. When women stop chasing, men start pursuing. This one is huge. Ladies, men are wired to be hunters. The moment a woman stops over-giving, over-explaining, over-proving, something shifts. The man wakes up. He starts to pursue because that's in his nature. You don't get what you chase. You get what you embody. So what do men truly hate? They hate when women wake up. They hate when women figure out that they don't have to beg, prove, or fight for a man's love. Because when a woman steps into her power, men have no choice but to rise or get left behind. So ladies, step into your power, lead with confidence, and watch how the game changes in your favor. Women have an incredible influence over men, far greater than most realize. This power isn't about manipulation or control. It's about understanding the deep psychological and emotional drivers that shape a man's decisions, behaviors, and even his success in life. History is filled with examples of powerful women who shaped great men, not by force, but by influence. The problem is that many women either don't realize this influence exists, or they misuse it in ways that push men away rather than drawing them closer. When a woman understands her impact, she no longer needs to force a man to change, beg for his attention, or struggle for his commitment, because she naturally inspires him to be his best. Men are naturally wired to be providers and protectors, but they also have egos that are deeply tied to how they are perceived, especially by the women they care about. A man will move mountains for a woman who makes him feel strong, capable, and valued. However, he will withdraw or become defensive if he feels criticized, controlled, or diminished. The key is not in demanding change, but in inspiring it through subtle yet powerful shifts in communication and energy. Many women make the mistake of thinking that they need to tell a man exactly what to do, how to act, or how to love them. But the truth is, men don't respond well to being told what to do. They respond to inspiration. A woman who understands this doesn't nag, complain, or try to force a man to change. She becomes the kind of person he naturally wants to change for. Example, if a woman constantly complains that her partner never makes time for her, he may feel like he's failing and either get defensive or pull away. But if she instead expresses appreciation for the times he does make an effort and subtly encourages more of that behavior, he will feel motivated to do more. The difference is in the approach. Criticism shuts a man down. Appreciation makes him step up. This doesn't mean that a woman should suppress her needs or accept less than she deserves. Quite the opposite. A woman who truly understands her influence sets high standards. But she does so in a way that makes a man want to rise to meet them. She doesn't demand respect, she embodies it. She doesn't beg for attention, she attracts it. She doesn't force a man to commit, she inspires him to want to. Another important aspect of influence is understanding how men process emotions. Many women expect men to communicate and express themselves the way they do, but men are often more action-oriented in their emotions. If a man is stressed, he may withdraw or get quiet. Not because he doesn't care, but because he's processing in a way that feels natural to him. A woman who understands this won't take it personally or push him to talk when he's not ready. Instead, she creates a space where he feels safe to open up when he's ready without pressure or judgment. In relationships, the most influential women are not the ones who try to control or fix a man, but the ones who make him feel seen, appreciated, and challenged in the best way. Men are drawn to women who make them feel like heroes, not in a way that feeds arrogance, but in a way that brings out their best qualities. A man wants to feel like he is needed, that he has a purpose in a woman's life, and that his efforts are valued. When a woman understands her influence, she stops wasting energy trying to change a man who isn't ready, chasing love that isn't freely given, or proving her worth to someone who should already see it. She becomes the kind of woman who naturally commands respect, admiration, and commitment without ever having to force it. Men are taught from a young age to be strong, tough, and independent. Society conditions them to suppress their emotions, to avoid appearing weak, and to always be in control. While this can create a sense of resilience, it also builds an invisible wall around their emotions, making it difficult for them to express vulnerability. The moment a woman understands this, she gains insight into a part of a man that he rarely reveals, even to himself. A man's deepest fear is not failure, rejection, or even loss. It's emotional exposure. It's the fear of being seen as weak, inadequate, or not good enough. This fear is why so many men struggle to open up, communicate their feelings, or ask for help when they need it. It's also why men sometimes lash out, withdraw, or shut down when emotions become too intense. They are not avoiding their partner. They are avoiding the discomfort of confronting their own emotions. Most women assume that if a man truly loves them, he should naturally want to share everything with them. But men don't process emotions the way women do. While women often find relief in talking about their feelings, men are more likely to internalize and try to solve their problems alone. When a man is going through something difficult, his instinct is often to retreat into himself rather than reach out. A woman who understands this doesn't take it personally or try to force him to talk. She gives him space while also creating an environment where he feels safe enough to open up when he's ready. The mistake many women make is pressuring a man to be emotionally available before he feels secure enough to do so. When a man feels like he's being interrogated or expected to share emotions he hasn't fully processed, he may feel overwhelmed and shut down. But when a woman approaches him with patience, trust, and acceptance, he begins to see her as a safe space rather than a source of pressure. By the way, this doesn't mean a woman should tolerate emotional unavailability forever. It means recognizing the difference between a man who is working through his emotions in his own way and a man who refuses to engage at all. A man who feels emotionally safe with a woman will, over time, open up in ways he never has before. He will begin to share his thoughts, fears, and dreams, not because he's forced to, but because he trusts her enough to do so. One of the most powerful things a woman can do for a man is to make him feel like he is enough, just as he is. Many men go through life feeling like they constantly have to prove themselves to their bosses, their friends, and even their partners. When a woman truly sees a man, acknowledges his efforts, and reassures him that he is valued beyond just what he can provide, something shifts inside him. He feels lighter, more confident, and more willing to be emotionally available. This is not about coddling a man or making excuses for emotional immaturity. It's about understanding that men, just like women, have emotional wounds that shape their behaviors. A man may not always say he's afraid, but his actions will reveal it. If he avoids serious conversations, keeps his emotions locked away, or distances himself when things get too deep, it's likely because he's been conditioned to believe that vulnerability is dangerous. The ironic part is that when a man finally feels safe enough to be vulnerable, he becomes even stronger. A man who can share his emotions without fear of judgment becomes a better partner, a better father, a better leader. And it's often the presence of a woman who understands this dynamic that helps him reach that place. When a woman recognizes that a man's silence, defensiveness, or emotional distance is not necessarily rejection, but a form of self-protection, she stops reacting with frustration and starts responding with understanding. And in that shift, she unlocks a level of connection that many couples never reach. Every relationship, whether romantic or platonic, contains an unspoken power dynamic. This dynamic isn't necessarily negative, nor is it about control or dominance in a traditional sense. It's about influence, leadership, and the ability to shape interactions in a way that fosters mutual respect and connection. Many women don't recognize this silent competition, and even fewer understand how to navigate it effectively. But those who do gain an edge that allows them to create deeper, more fulfilling relationships without unnecessary struggle. And the reality is, like almost everything in our life, we create deeper, more fulfilling relationships without unnecessary struggle. Men and women naturally engage in a subtle dance of influence, where each partner tries to establish their role in the relationship. Some women, in an attempt to gain control, adopt a more forceful approach, trying to assert dominance through demands, ultimatums, or direct confrontation. While this may work temporarily, it often leads to resistance rather than cooperation. Men, especially those who value their independence and sense of leadership, tend to push back when they feel they're being controlled. Instead of strengthening the bond, this approach creates unnecessary tension and power struggles. A woman who understands this dynamic realizes that true power in a relationship doesn't come from control, but from influence. Influence is subtle, effective, and sustainable. It allows a woman to guide the direction of the relationship without forcing her partner into submission. The most influential women are not the ones who demand or dictate. They are the ones who inspire and encourage. They understand that a man is far more likely to respond positively when he feels like he is choosing to step up rather than being forced into it. One of the most effective ways a woman can navigate this dynamic is by leading through example rather than instruction. Instead of telling a man what he needs to do differently, she embodies the standards she wants to set. If she desires respect, she carries herself with dignity. If she wants emotional depth, she creates an environment where vulnerability feels safe. If she values commitment, she demonstrates unwavering self-worth rather than chasing validation. This approach shifts the energy of the relationship, making it clear that she is someone who attracts effort, not someone who has to beg for it. And not just begging for it either, because the rapport building, the analytical aspect of it, is that making yourself useful to others. Another common mistake women make in this unspoken power dynamic is engaging in competition rather than collaboration. Some women unknowingly take on a combative role in their relationships, trying to win arguments, prove a point, or assert their superiority. While healthy debate and intellectual challenge can strengthen a relationship, constant competition erodes trust and intimacy. A woman who understands this dynamic chooses her battles wisely, recognizing that not every disagreement needs to be a fight for dominance. Instead, she focuses on finding solutions that benefit both partners rather than seeking personal victories. Men by nature thrive in environments where they feel respected and valued. When a woman recognizes that respect is one of the most powerful tools in her arsenal, she learns how to use it effectively. This doesn't mean blind submission or tolerating poor treatment. It means understanding the difference between demanding respect and inspiring it. A man who feels respected is more likely to be open, engaged, and committed. He will naturally want to contribute more to the relationship because he feels appreciated rather than criticized. One of the most misunderstood aspects of this silent competition is the balance of masculine and feminine energy. Many women, in an attempt to protect themselves or assert independence, lean heavily into their masculine energy, becoming overly assertive, aggressive, or controlling. While there is strength in both masculine and feminine traits, an imbalance can disrupt the natural flow of a relationship. An imbalance can disrupt the natural flow of a relationship. A woman who embraces her feminine energy, not as a weakness, but as a source of power, finds that she can influence a man in ways that force never could. She doesn't have to demand attention. She naturally commands it. When a woman understands the unspoken power dynamic in relationships, she stops fighting for control and starts leading with influence. She no longer feels the need to prove herself or struggle for dominance because she recognizes that her true power lies in her ability to inspire, not dictate. And in doing so, she creates a relationship where both partners thrive, not as competitors, but as allies. Men and women often express love in different ways, and one of the biggest mistakes in relationships is assuming that love alone is enough to keep a man engaged, committed, and emotionally invested. While love is essential, it is not the primary thing that drives a man to show up fully in a relationship. For men, respect is the foundation upon which love is built. Without respect, love begins to feel like an obligation rather than a deep connection. So for men, women naturally express love through emotions, nurturing, and affection. They assume that if they shower a man with enough love, he will feel fulfilled and reciprocate in the same way. But men operate differently. Love to them is not just about how much affection they receive, it's about how much respect they feel in the relationship. A man can be deeply in love with a woman, but if he feels disrespected, whether in small ways or major conflicts, his desire to invest in the relationship will slowly fade. Respect to a man is not just about words. It's about how he is treated, how he is spoken to, and whether he feels valued for who he is. Many women unintentionally undermine this need for respect by constantly correcting, criticizing, or trying to fix their partner. While these actions often come from a place of love, wanting to help him be his best, they can make a man feel inadequate, unappreciated, or like he's always failing in her eyes. When a man feels like he can't win, he eventually stops trying. One of the most common ways respect is unintentionally eroded is through the way women communicate. Men and women have different communication styles. Women tend to express their frustrations openly, believing that discussing every issue is the path to resolution. Men, on the other hand, process things differently. When a woman constantly points out what a man is doing wrong, especially in a way that feels like nagging or lecturing, he doesn't hear, "I want us to be better." He hears, "You're not good enough." Over time, this builds resentment and emotional distance. This doesn't mean that a woman should suppress her needs or avoid difficult conversations. It means learning how to communicate in a way that allows a man to hear her without feeling attacked. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," she can say, "I feel most connected to you when we talk openly." Instead of, "You never help around the house," she can say, "I love when we share responsibilities. It makes me feel like a team." The message is the same, but the delivery invites cooperation instead of defensiveness. Another crucial aspect of respect is acknowledging and appreciating what a man does rather than focusing only on what he doesn't do. Men thrive on recognition. They need to feel like their efforts are noticed and valued. A simple, "I appreciate you," can go a long way in making a man feel seen. Many women unknowingly withhold this kind of validation, assuming that a man should just do what's expected without needing acknowledgement. But when a man feels like his efforts don't matter, he starts to withdraw emotionally. Respect also plays a significant role in how a woman handles disagreements. Men do not respond well to disrespect in the heat of an argument. Yelling, belittling, or using sarcasm may feel like an emotional release in the moment, but it damages the foundation of trust. A man who feels disrespected during conflicts will either shut down or fight back in ways that escalate the problem. However, when a woman remains composed and expresses her frustrations without attacking his character, a man is far more likely to listen and respond with maturity. There we go. Understanding that respect is a man's primary love language changes the way a woman interacts with him. She doesn't have to diminish herself or tolerate bad behavior, but she does need to recognize that the way she expresses her emotions has a direct impact on how a man shows up in the relationship. When a man feels respected, he naturally becomes more loving, attentive, and committed, not because he has to, but because he wants to. A woman who masters this understanding doesn't have to chase a man's love, beg for his attention, or convince him to commit. She creates an environment where he feels valued, appreciated, and inspired to give her the best version of himself. And in doing so, she builds a relationship that is not just based on love, but on mutual admiration and deep, lasting respect. Men are wired to pursue, to conquer, and to feel the thrill of the chase. This isn't just about relationships, it's about how they approach life in general. From their careers to their personal goals, men are naturally drawn to challenges that push them to be better, stronger, and more capable. The moment a woman understands this fundamental part of a man's psychology, she stops trying to force love and instead positions herself as the kind of woman who naturally captivates his attention and devotion. The biggest mistake many women make is thinking that if they give everything to a man, love, time, energy, and even their identity, he will appreciate them more. In reality, when a woman makes herself too available, too easy to please, or too dependent on a man for her happiness, she loses the very thing that initially attracted him, the mystery, the excitement, and the feeling that she is a prize to be won. Men don't value what they don't have to work for. They may enjoy the convenience of a woman who is always available, but they won't deeply respect or desire her in the same way. It doesn't mean playing mind games or intentionally creating distance just for the sake of it. It means understanding that men stay engaged when they feel like they have to continually invest in the relationship. A woman who has her own passions, her own purpose, and her own sense of fulfillment outside of the relationship is far more attractive than a woman who makes a man the center of her world. When a man sees that a woman is independent, that she has standards, and that she is willing to walk away if those standards aren't met, he instinctively steps up to meet her level. Another critical aspect of this is not overgiving in a relationship. Women are naturally nurturing, and it's easy to fall into the habit of giving too much, doing all the emotional work, initiating all the plans, and constantly trying to prove their love. But when a woman gives too much without allowing a man to invest in return, he stops appreciating what she brings to the table. He may not even realize it, but subconsciously, he begins to take her for granted. A woman who understands this dynamic knows that she should allow a man to contribute to the relationship just as much as she does. Men also thrive on the feeling that they are working towards something valuable. If everything is handed to them without effort, they lose interest. This is why so many relationships start off exciting, but fizzle out when a woman stops being the person who inspired the chase. It's not about withholding love or playing hard to get. It's about maintaining the qualities that made her irresistible in the first place. For example, let's say you try to put your boat on the market too much. My wife, for example, tends to focus on working hard to get. It's about maintaining the qualities that made her irresistible in the first place. The confidence, the ambition, the sense of adventure. All of these keep a man engaged and willing to put in the effort. This understanding extends to emotional connection as well. Many women think that if they constantly express their emotions, a man will naturally reciprocate. But men don't always respond to words, they respond to energy and actions. A woman who remains centered, who doesn't overreact to every small issue, and who carries herself with self-assurance is far more attractive than a woman who is overly needy or emotional. Men are drawn to women who bring peace into their lives, not constant chaos. Ultimately, a man values what he earns. He wants to feel like he has won a woman's heart, not that it was simply given to him without effort. When a woman understands this, she stops chasing, she stops overgiving, and she stops settling for less than she deserves. Instead, she becomes the kind of woman who naturally commands respect, admiration, and deep, lasting love, not by forcing it, but by inspiring it. Binoculars you want. Men, like everyone else, crave deep, meaningful connections, but they often struggle to articulate or even recognize this need within themselves. While they may be drawn to a woman for her beauty, charm, or confidence, what truly keeps a man invested is how she makes him feel when he is around her. The moment a woman understands that men are not just looking for love, but for a sense of peace, stability, and emotional security, she gains the ability to create a relationship that feels irreplaceable. Many women believe that they need to constantly impress a man, entertain him, or keep his attention through excitement and unpredictability. While novelty and attraction play a role, what ultimately makes a man commit at the deepest level is the feeling of being understood, accepted, and at ease. Men live in a world that often demands a lot from them, expectations in their careers, responsibilities to their families, and the internal pressure to always be strong. Because of this, they are naturally drawn to women who bring a sense of calm rather than chaos into their life. One of the most powerful things a woman can do is create a space where a man feels like he can let his guard down. Most men walk through life wearing an invisible armor, constantly proving themselves and protecting their vulnerabilities. When a woman understands this, she stops demanding emotional intimacy in a way that feels forceful and instead allows it to happen naturally by being a safe presence. She doesn't push him to talk when he isn't ready, but she is there when he is. She doesn't make him feel weak for struggling, but she reassures him that his struggles don't change how she sees him. This doesn't mean a woman should tolerate bad behavior, ignore her own needs, or become a caretaker. It means recognizing that men, just like women, need a space where they don't have to perform or pretend. When a man feels like he can truly be himself around a woman without fear of judgment or criticism, he associates her with peace. And once a man finds peace with a woman, he will do anything to keep that connection. A common mistake women make is assuming that being emotionally intense or dramatic keeps a man engaged. While some men may initially be drawn to excitement and high emotions, over time, constant drama becomes exhausting. A man wants to come home to a woman who makes his life feel better, not more stressful. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means knowing how to handle challenges with grace, maturity, and self-awareness. A woman who can navigate conflict without resorting to unnecessary fights or emotional outbursts commands a man's respect and admiration in a way that is far more powerful than any argument could ever achieve. Another key aspect of this is how a woman carries herself. A woman who is at peace with herself naturally brings that energy into a relationship. If she is secure in who she is, if she trusts herself, and if she doesn't need constant validation, she becomes a source of strength rather than insecurity. A man doesn't want to feel like he is responsible for a woman's happiness. He wants to add to the happiness she already has. When a woman radiates confidence and contentment from within, she becomes irresistible on a deeper level. Men might not always express it in words, but they are deeply affected by the emotional environment a woman creates. If she brings stress, doubt, or emotional volatility, he will begin to associate the relationship with those feelings. But if she brings peace, warmth, and stability, he will crave her presence in a way that goes beyond attraction or love. It becomes a need. Gentlemen, when a woman understands that men ultimately seek a relationship that adds to their sense of peace, she stops trying to force love, chase attention, or prove her worth. Instead, she becomes a presence that a man values beyond measure, someone he respects, protects, and prioritizes, not out of obligation, but because being with her makes his life better in ways he never expected. That's what marriage truly does, is it shifts the focus from self-appreciation to not out of obligation. When a woman truly understands the unspoken truths about men, she stops struggling for love, attention, or validation. She no longer feels the need to chase, control, or prove her worth because she realizes that her power lies in who she is, not in what she does to keep a man. The secret isn't in playing games, changing who she is, or following outdated rules. It's in mastering the art of influence, respecting a man's nature while standing firm in her own value. Men don't fear love, but they do fear losing respect. They don't resist commitment, but they do resist feeling forced into it. They don't avoid emotional connection, but they do seek it in a way that allows them to feel strong, not weak. A woman who understands this becomes irreplaceable. Not because she demands it, but because she naturally inspires it. The moment a woman shifts her mindset from trying to control a relationship to understanding its dynamics, everything changes. She no longer attracts men who take her for granted. She no longer tolerates situations where she isn't valued. She naturally commands a level of respect and devotion that no amount of effort or persuasion could ever achieve. This isn't about men versus women. It's about understanding the balance that makes relationships thrive. A woman who embraces this wisdom doesn't settle for love, she elevates it. And in doing so, she creates a connection that is not just strong, but unbreakable.